In this video we are going to learn and work on arithmetic sequences. What makes a sequence arithmetic? Well, an arithmetic sequence has common difference between any two consecutive terms. So what makes a sequence arithmetic is the existence of this common difference. Now, let's see what we're talking about. Let's try to figure out whether these sequences are arithmetic or not. Well, we're seeking for common difference between any consecutive terms. So if I check the first one, it is 2, 3, 5, 8 and 12. Well, the difference between consecutive terms is this is 1. The difference between these two is 2. The difference between these two terms is 3. And the difference between these two terms is 4. Obviously, they are not equal to each other, so I can't say that there's a common difference between the terms of this sequence. So, this is not an arithmetic sequence. Let's look at the second one. Now, the numbers go like 2, 5, 8, 11, 14, and so on. Well, if I check the difference between these terms, I can see that there is a common difference, right? These are all the same. So I can say that this is an arithmetic sequence. Now the same applies to number 3 as in number 1. I mean 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. Obviously the difference between those terms are not the same, so there is no common difference, hence this is not an arithmetic sequence. And the last one, well, this is a decreasing sequence as the terms go smaller and smaller, and you can see, though it is a decreasing sequence, you can see that there is this common difference between any two consecutive terms. So this will be an arithmetic sequence. In an arithmetic sequence, we call the first term as A, and we call the common difference as D. So, keeping in mind that n is the rank of the terms, so I use 1, 2, 3, 4, those consecutive numbers as the number of terms. Now I can write down something like a formula to find out any term I'd like without keep on writing all the terms until that. For example, for the second one, for this one, if the question would be find the 30th term, I can use a formula to find that instead of writing 17, 20 and so on until the 30th term. So let's see how we can derive this formula. Now for this sequence, I know that the first term is 2 because it starts with 2, and the common difference is, well, if I check any one of these I can see that it is 3, and I know that n starts with 1, 2, 3 and it goes on like that. Basically the sequence here, or any sequence in general, is a relation between those values of n and the terms of the sequence, something like, well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's go on like that for n, right? And we have here 2, 5, 8, 11, 14, and so on, right? So this is, let's say, the sequence, right? This is something like, if you consider it like this is something like the x value and the y value where you were to make a table and draw a linear graph, right? It is almost the same. So there is a relation between x and y, as in there's a relation between n and the terms of the sequence. So if we just get rid of these lines, let's see the relation. The relation is when I have a formula, right? I'm going to do this. When I have a formula, I'm going to substitute 1 and I'm going to get 2. I'm going to substitute 2 and I'm going to get 5, and so on. So how is this going to work? Well, the difference between the values of n is 1, right? So actually the values of n is the most basic sequence, right? Whereas the difference between my sequence is 3. So for every increase in 1 in here, I have an increase of 3 in here. So it's 3 times the difference here. So I can go write down, this would be 3n, right? Because every time I increase n by 1, I have to increase my sequence by 3. So it must be 3n. But what happens when I substitute 1 into here? I mean, 3 times 1 is 3. Well, my sequence starts with a 2, right? So I have to take away 1. So this is the general expression for the nth term. Now I can use this expression to find any term I'd like. If I go with, as I said before, 30th term, so all I have to do is to write 3 times 30 minus 1, which would be 90 minus 1, which is 89. So instead of going for 17, 20 and so on, I can just do the calculation in no time and find the 30th term or whatever term is asked. So basically what you do is to write the common difference as a coefficient of n, and then to check what you would write here. It could be plus a number or minus a number to get the first term, and you can just give it a try for the second and the third term to make sure that this expression is working. So if I substitute 2 here, it's gonna be 3 times 2 minus 1, so that is 6 minus 1, which is 5, which is my second term. So this is working. I don't like formulas, but if you like to use formulas, then there's a formula for this, which will also appear in the formula sheet in IGCSE exam. So you can use the formula, which is for A and D. We know them. A is the first term, D is the common difference. The nth term would be A plus n minus 1 times D. Well, if we use this formula, my first term is 2. Well, I want the 30th term, so I write 30, for example, right? And then I write the common difference, which is 3. So that's going to be 2 plus 29 times 3, which would give me 2 plus 87, which is 89. So this gives me the same value, to no surprise. But if you'd like, you can use this formula instead of deriving it. Let's look at this example. Well, to find the formula, I need the first term, which is 7, right? And I need the common difference, which is, well, 3, right? So, if I use the formula, it is like A plus n minus 1 times D. Well, it's going to be 7 plus, well, just because it's going to be formula for nth term, I'm going to keep n, right? And I'm going to multiply it by 3. So if I expand this, I'm going to get 7 plus 3n minus 3, which will be 3n plus 4. So that's the nth term, or the general formula. If I want to derive it, then I can go like, well, just because the difference is 3, I'll start with 3n. But if I substitute 1, so it's 3 times 1, this is 3. Well, I start with 7, so I have to add 4 to get this 3 to 7, right? So I can also find the nth term like this. Now try these questions, work on your book and submit the answers online. My suggestion for these questions is to start with part B first. If you can write the nth term, it will be easier to find whatever term is asked for you. So solve and submit. Thank you.